My name is John Nesbit. I'm a professor in the Faculty of Education at Simon Fraser University. My area of research is educational psychology and learning design and the learning sciences. And for me, that also includes educational technology and learning design. Among the things I'm interested in is the role of argumentation in promoting learning. I'm interested in helping students to think critically about the materials they might be reading or they might be learning about by becoming better arguers. One of the ways that we've done that is to develop software we call ArgueBot. I've developed this with my colleague Phil Winnie. And what ArgueBot software does is it prompts students to state the reasons for things they believe. So it will ask them to make a claim, and then it will ask them to give the reasons why they believe in that claim. And it will actually ask them to elaborate quite a bit about the structure underlying their argument. So for example, most of us have a built-in capacity to argue. Even young children have some ability to give the reasons for what they're doing or what they're believing. But as we develop further in our learning and proceed through an educational process, we want to develop more sophisticated arguments, more persuasive arguments. It's part of becoming an educated person. And so the kinds of arguments we'd like students to be able to make is ones that, let's say, rebut counter-arguments. Some people think that if you're trying to persuade somebody, you should only state the things that favor your position. But what we want students to learn how to do is to also identify the counter-arguments against their position and then to rebut those counter-arguments. So what we'd like to do is, through the use of software and through the use of educational treatments of various kinds, to help students to develop a more sophisticated way of arguing, and we think that this will lead to more sophisticated ways of learning. Because if you can argue about the materials you're learning, you're going to learn them more deeply, and you'll be able to apply them in different ways. Another one of my interests is in intelligent tutoring systems. Intelligent tutoring systems are advanced forms of computer software that have artificial intelligence built into them. Now, the idea of an intelligent tutoring system has been around for 30, 40 years or longer, and the first examples probably date back about 40 years. But they never really took off, and they haven't been applied until recently very intensively in classrooms. But now I think we're beginning to see intelligent tutoring systems really take off in education. It's because computers have far more computational power, and so we now have the possibility of computing systems that can hold conversations with learners, that can track what they know and what they don't know, can present problems to them that are precisely targeted to their level of understanding and knowledge. And all this will be a great advantage for students in the future. So one of my areas is studying intelligent tutoring systems and determining exactly what their advantages are. What can they do well? What can't they do? Another area of research I'm interested in is the use of visual displays for representing knowledge. So concept maps and other forms of graphic organizers like argument maps that can be used to depict arguments that I was talking about a moment ago. One of the things we've been doing with visual displays is using eye tracking equipment to see what students look at and how they process cognitively visual displays like concept maps. Concept maps are diagrams that represent verbal information in a kind of tree-like pattern. So you'll have concepts represented as nodes in the diagram, and the nodes might be connected with links. And we're able to see exactly how students process that information, and what we're finding is they process it in all kinds of different ways. And what we're interested to know is, are there certain ways of processing concept maps that are more effective than other ways? Are there designs for concept maps that are more effective than other kinds of designs? Because concept maps are used quite a bit in education, and we think they can be used to promote learning, and we want to find ways to make them more effective. One of the areas I'm interested in is the use of educational technology to change our models of teaching and learning at the university. This is something that must, I think, concern every university instructor and professor. So what I've been doing with one of the large classes I'm working with is thinking how I can change the format for this large enrollment lecture class so It might involve less of the standard lecture model and would engage students more effectively with what they're studying. So for example, instead of me lecturing to them, I could bring in an expert in that area and I could interview that expert. And by having a dialogue, students, even though they may not be participating in that dialogue, might feel more engaged. I think there's great potential also for the use of educational technologies to change the way teaching and learning occurs at universities, and this is something I'm very interested in pursuing.